Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayan Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tado Jayamudirayet Nishtaprayeshu Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 1, verse number 5 and 6 will be discussing today. Ta ekada tu munaya pratarhuta utagnaya satkritam sutam asinam paprachur idam adharat rishaya uchuhu taya kalu puranani setihasani chanaga आख्यातानि अपि अधीतानि धर्मशास्त्राणि यानि उत. Translation will read. One day, after finishing their morning duties by burning a sacrificial fire and offering a seat of esteem to Srila Shuta Goswami, the great sages made inquiries with great respect about the following matters. The sages said, Respected Sutta Goswami, you are completely free from all vice. You are well versed in all the scriptures famous for religious life and in the Puranas and in the studies as well. For you have gone through them under proper guidance and have also explained them. Purport. Morning is the best time to hold spiritual services. The great sages offered the speaker of the Bhagavatam an elevated seat of respect called Vyasa Asana, or the seat of Srila Vyasadeva. Sri Vyasadeva is the original spiritual preceptor for all men, and all the other preceptors are considered to be his representatives. A representative is one who can exactly present the viewpoint of Sri Vyasadeva. Sri Vyasadeva impregnated the message of Bhagavatam unto Srila Shukadeva Goswami, and Sri Sutta Goswami heard it from him, Sri Shukadeva Goswami. All bona fide representatives of Sri Vyasadeva in the chain of disciplic succession are to be understood to be Goswamis. These Goswamis restrain all their senses and they stick to the path made by the previous acharyas. The Goswamis do not deliver lectures on the Bhagavatam capriciously. Rather, they execute their services most carefully, following their predecessors who delivered the spiritual message unbroken to them. Those who listen to the Bhagavatam may put questions to the speaker in order to elicit the clear meaning, but this should not be done in a challenging spirit. One must submit questions with a great regard for the speaker and the subject matter. This is also the way recommended in Bhagavad Gita. One must learn the transcendental subject by submissive oral reception from the right sources. Therefore, these sages addressed the speaker Sutta Goswami with great respect. A Goswami or the bona fide representative of Sri Vyasadeva must be free from all kinds of vices. The four major vices of Kali Yuga are illicit connection with women, animal slaughter, intoxication, speculative gambling of all sorts. A Goswami must be free from all these vices before he can dare sit on the Vyasasana. No one should be allowed to sit on the Vyasasana who is not spotless in character and who is not freed from above mentioned vices. He not only should be freed from all such vices, but also be well versed in all the revealed scripture or in the Vedas. The Puranas are also parts of the Vedas. And histories like Mahabharata, Ramayana are also parts of the Vedas. The Acharya or the Goswami must be well acquainted with all these literatures. To hear and explain them is more important than reading them. One can assimilate the knowledge of the revealed scripture only by hearing and explaining. Hearing is called Shravana and explaining it called Kirtana. The two processes of Shravana and Kirtana are of primary importance to the progressive spiritual life. Only one who has properly grasped the transcendental knowledge from the right source by submissive hearing can properly explain the subject. Thus, in the purport, Namavo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Deshatarini Jayasti Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaurabhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this verses establishes the mood of receiving the transcendental knowledge. The sacred forest of Naimisharanya, 88,000 sages headed by Shaunaka Rishi assembled to perform sacrifice for 1,000 years for the pleasure of Lord Krishna and his devotees. Because the sages knew very well that this Kali Yuga was filled with full of religion, cheating, hypocrisy, all these things. And they want to do a real welfare activity for the humanity. They did not perform the sacrifice to promote themselves to higher planets, or they want to live long duration of life, or they want to attain material wealth. They don't want opulent life. Neither they were interested to go to heavenly planets. They were simply performing the sacrifice for the pleasure of Lord Krishna and for the welfare of the humanity. Why one should perform sacrifice? Sacrifice is for pleasing the Lord, purifying one's consciousness, and giving a benefit to others, welfare of the others. Then, after completing the sacrifice or after completing their morning ritual, the sages offered the seat, esteemed seat, to Srila Sutta Goswami. Although there were many elderly Brahmanas, sages, well acquainted with the knowledge, nevertheless, they offered a seat to Sutta Goswami, who is not a Brahmana by birth. So, the Vedic culture, one's qualifications determined by one's spiritual realization, not by birth, not by his academic qualification or his social status. These are not the criteria for occupying the position of the spiritual master or to get the seat of Vyasasana. So one should have attained the spiritual realization. So Sutta Goswami was so exalted, although he was younger and although he was not a Brahmana, nevertheless he was given the seat of Vyasadeva to speak on the subject matter of transcendental knowledge. The sages asked question how with great respect, not just as soon as okay you can sit, take your seat, okay let me know, please tell, answer, I am asking this question. They did not ask like this. They asked question with great respect. Unless there is a humility, when we approach a saintly person, if you are not humble, then we will not be able to receive the transcendental knowledge. So humility is very, very important in the spiritual life to receive the transcendental knowledge. And why First they finish their morning ritual. Without completing the morning ritual, also they could have asked directly why they wanted to finish morning ritual. Then they are putting for the question, because the first and foremost duty in the spiritual life is one has to perform his morning sadhana. One has to worship the deity called Mangalarti. We perform worship during Mangalarti. Then do japa, prescribed number of rounds to purify our consciousness. Then one should offer respect to the saintly person. Then we should hear from him. So this will set a mood. First we should worship the deity and do japa or sadhana. Then later we should offer respect to saintly person and hear Bhagavad Puran. This is the way one should hear, not just to simply sit and hear anytime. No. Of course, hearing is always good, but systematic way. So Prabhupada set everything in his ISKCON. How to hear Bhagavatam in a systematic way as per the Bhagavatam. Not just whimsically set a standard. He set everything as per the Bhagavatam. He is a living Bhagavatam. Srila Prabhupada was a living Bhagavatam. So he is teaching by his own example. So the morning time is very, very important for spiritual life. Why? Why it's important? Because Brahma Muhurta time. What is Brahma Muhurta? Brahma Muhurta means 1 hour 36 minutes before the sunrise. That period starts. Brahma Muhurta begins 1 hour 36 minutes before the sunrise. And in one day, 24 hours, it's divided into 30 muhurtas. That's 1 day is equal to 30 muhurtas. So each muhurta is equal to 48 minutes. So Brahma Muhurta time is the second last part of the end of the day. That is second last part of the day. So 1 hour 36 minutes before the sunrise, Brahma Muhurta starts. For example, 6 a.m. is the sunrise. So Brahma Muhurta starts at 4:24 and it lasts for 48 minutes till 5:12. Brahma Muhurta starts from 4:24 to 5:12 if sun rises at 6 a.m. After that, from 5:12 to 6 o'clock is called Arunodaya period. That is last part of the day, night, or just beginning before the sunrise. So, therefore, Prabhupada set a standard in all ISKCON temple that we should perform Mangalarti in Brahma Muhurta time. It's very, very conducive, auspicious. It's encouraged in the Shastra that we should perform our spiritual practice during Brahma Muhurta time. Why? Because during that time, it's very, very peaceful. Mind is peaceful. Because after taking rest, mind will be fresh. And the world is calm. The world is calm, no distractions. Everywhere there is a peace. It's calmness. So during that time, when we perform Mangalarati or when we do japa, it's easy for us to focus. Because when everything is calm, even for I and all used to get up early morning by 4 o'clock to read when I was studying in the school. Why? Because at the time mind will be fresh to absorb and keep in our memory. Later part of the day, mind will be disturbed. A lot of things because everywhere is sound. It's very difficult to grasp the subject after 6 o'clock. So therefore, it's very, very important to perform spiritual practice during this period. And moreover, This day, uh, different part of the day is dominated by different gunas, like different times. For example, all three gunas are there: sattva guna, raja guna, tamo guna. Early morning 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. sattva guna dominates. Then 6 to 10 raja guna dominates. 10 to 2 sattva guna and raja guna dominates. Then 2 to 6 raja guna dominates. And sorry, 2 to 6, yeah, 6 to 10, evening 6 to 10, Sattva dominates. And night 10 to morning to midnight to Tamaguna dominates. So during this Tamaguna time, we should not do any spiritual practice. That's the best time to sleep because Tamaguna. 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock, we should not do any spiritual. Of course, that's a time for resting. So it is better to perform spiritual, particularly Mangalarti or Japa, anything during morning time. So this Brahma Murta is dominated by Sattva. Therefore, it is recommended to perform worship or do Japa during this Brahma Murta time. And third point is easy to remember the Lord because whatever we do in the morning time, its mind is calm and it will be able to chant nicely. But later part of the day, it's very difficult. If you miss in the morning, throughout the day you'll be chanting, but still will not feel satisfied because lot of disturbance. So it is better to finish our japa in the morning time. Then next is it's recommended in the shastras that deity worship, japa, it's all should be performed during the morning time. And also morning time is a set a tone. For example, whatever the consciousness we develop in the morning time, that will influence us during the rest of the day. Suppose one bad thought you put, one seed of bad thought you put in the morning time, as soon as we get up at 4 o'clock, somehow we develop some negativity about somebody or some situation that will keep on going on in our mind rest of the day. But the same positive thought, like a chanting or hear good things during that time, the mind thinks about a good thing that influence the rest of the day. Therefore, first mind should be fed early morning. The feeding, spiritual feeding, should be fed to the mind. So when the mind is fed this spiritual thing, then mind will remain calm and unagitated. Otherwise, mind will be anchoring after so many things. So therefore, the morning is very, very important. The sages of Naimisharanya performed their ritual first. Then they offered a seat to Sota Goswami. So why? What is a Vyasana? Vyasasana? Vyasasana means the seat of Vyasadeva, or a representative of Vyasadeva can sit on the asana. Because Vyasadeva is the original spiritual master, is the compiler of all the Puranas, Vedas, Upanishads, and he knows the conclusion of the Shastra. He knows about the supreme absolute truth, and he explained the supreme absolute truth in Srimad Bhagavatam. Therefore, the first duty of the representative of Vyasadeva, it should be qualified to sit on the Vyasasana. What is the qualification? First qualification, it should be free from all four vices. What are the four vices? No meditating, no intoxication, no gambling, and illicit sex. So these are the meditating, intoxication, and gambling, illicit sex. Illicit sex. These four are called religious activity. Therefore, a person who's sitting on the Vyasasana should be free from the four vices. Why this is called irreligion? Once, Parikshit Maharaj was touring the world, While he was on the tour, he happened to see a Kali Purusha who was dressed like a king, was beating a cow and bull, helpless creature, innocent creature. When Parikshit Maharaj saw this, was very angry because in his kingdom, the innocent animal, cow and bulls are being beaten by a person who's dressed like a king. He could not tolerate. Immediately got down from the chariot, he took his sword and blasted him. Who are you in my kingdom that you are beating an innocent animal? Therefore, you are deserved to be killed. So he was about to kill Kali Purusha. Kali Purusha understood that he cannot escape from Maharaja Parikshit. Immediately he fell at the feet, surrendered himself to the lotus feet of Parikshit Maharaj. Then Parikshit Maharaj said, since you surrendered yourself, you need not be afraid of your life. But you cannot remain in my kingdom. Get lost. Go away. Don't be in my kingdom. So Parikshit, Kali Purusha said, where can I go, sir? Everything belongs to you. I am also your praja. You give me some place. You give me some place. Please give me some place for me to fix some place for me to stay permanently under your protection. Then Parikshit Maharaj gave him 4 places. Dyutam Panam Striya Suna Atra Adharma Chaturveda. You go to the places. He has given the 4 places. Meditating, intoxication, gambling, and illicit connection with woman. You go to these 4 places and live permanently there. You ask me 4 places. You ask me places to stay permanently. You please go and stay. So Kali Purusha occupied these 4 places. He has captured all these things. If anyone goes after these 4 places, he'll be dragged by Kali Purusha. He'll be haunted by Kali. Very difficult to escape from Kali. Therefore, Prabhupada established these 4 regulative principles as per the Bhagavatam. Sutta Goswami also explained, sages of Naimishan also explained, and Parikshit Maharaj also has given the 4 places to Kali Purusha. Therefore, Prabhupada established this. A devotee should follow the 4 regulative principles in order to be away from the clutches of Kali. So, a person who is sitting on the Vyasasana must be free from these 4 vices. The next, who can sit on Vyasasana? So, person should be spotless in character. His conduct should be good. And he should be free from all these 4 vices: no illicit sex, no gambling, no meditating, no intoxication. These are things should be there. Then he should have received transcendental knowledge from Vyasadeva or representative of Vyasadeva. And also, then he should be well versed in the scriptures. He should be well versed in the scriptures, and he should be able to convince others. Not only well versed in the scripture, should have the capacity, should have the knowledge to convince others. Generally, we all will read, but will not be able to convince others. So, a spiritual master should know the conclusion of the Shastra and should be able to convince others. Next, and he should not deviate from the instruction of Vyasadeva. Should give the knowledge as it is received from Vyasadeva or representative of Vyasadeva. The moment we distort, the moment we add some masala to the knowledge, then it spoils. Say a person who gives his interpretation or adds some masala, he cannot sit on Vyasasana. So he has to speak as it is. The tattva should be the same. no change of tattva. The explanation he can give different way to make people to understand. That is not an issue. It's not that he has to hear the same way. No, the principle, the tattva, that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. We are his part and parcel. It's a duty of a jivas to render service unto Krishna. Only through the process of bhakti yoga one can understand Krishna. Krishna is the supreme absolute truth. This is tattva. So from this tattva, one should not deviate. The rest, how we can present in order to make the people to understand, that is left to the acharya. That is different. But tattva, the tattva should not be changed. That's the most important principle in the parampara. So it is said in the Bhagavatam, Tasmad Gurum Prapadyedi Jignashu Shayevatam Shabde Parecha Nishnatu Brahmani Upashamashayam. If anyone desires real happiness, if anyone really desires real happiness, then he should approach a bona fide spiritual master and take shelter of him. He should take shelter of him by initiation. The qualification of the spiritual master is he must have realized the conclusion of the Shastra with the deliberation. He must have realized the conclusion of the Shastra with the deliberation and will be able to convince others with the conclusion. And one who has given up all kinds of bodily designation is called a bona fide spiritual master. So one has to approach a Paramamsa. A Paramamsa is the one who has taken shelter of Parabrahman, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If we take shelter of a Paramamsa, by the training, one will be able to understand the transcendental knowledge. So if we approach a common person, we will not be able to understand the transcendental subject matter. So Paramamsa is the one who has taken shelter of Parabrahman. Therefore, we should take shelter of Paramamsa. And what is the vision of the topmost Bhagavata or bona fide spiritual master? It is said in the Bhagavatam. Sarvabhuteshi yapashyat bhagavat bhavan atmana bhutani bhagavati atmani esha bhagavata uttama. The vision of the great souls, they see every jiva as the part and parcel of Krishna. The vision of the great Bhagavatas, Bhagavad Uttama means the topmost devotees, Uttama, best of all the devotees. They see every jiva as a part and parcel of Krishna. And they see everything in connection with Krishna. Not only jivas, even all the created things, a matter, whether telephone or laptop or a tube light or the table or chair or whatever it is, or water or earth, anything, they relate with Krishna. They see in connection with Krishna. Therefore, they do not hate anybody or any being or anyone. Why? It's because everything is come from Krishna. Everything belongs to Krishna. Suppose a mother loves her child, and whatever connection, like whatever items belong to the child, mother loves the child, mother loves that object, maybe toy, maybe some pen, or maybe some dress, maybe some shoe of the child. Because mother loves the child, therefore she loves the items belong to her child. Similarly, a devotee, when he loves Krishna, he loves all being, because everyone is connected to Krishna. Everything is connected to Krishna. Everything comes from Krishna. Therefore, he sees everyone as a part and parcel of Krishna. And he tries to engage everything in the service of the Lord. Everyone in the service of the Lord, everything in the service of the Lord. Once Prabhupada was there in the Western, I think one Swami, Giriraj Swami recalled, Prabhupada always encouraged people to become devotees. Generally, people make mistake invariably, but Prabhupada would often correct them and purify them. But in the conditioned state, we all tend to commit mistakes. Nobody's perfect, but somebody's acting perfectly. Prabhupada notice this person is acting perfectly. Why is acting perfectly? He has got some ulterior motives, because a conditioned soul cannot be perfect. And if he tried to act perfectly, a top level person can understand why are we acting perfectly, because we have got a tendency to enjoy some rasa, to expect some glorification. So a spiritual master can understand, oh, this fellow is acting nicely, but the intention is to some rasa is there, to receive some glorification, some sense gratification. So there was one person, one devotee joined. He was like a crazy man. Somehow he took initiation, and he would, when people would talk, then suddenly he would go and push them and walk inside. And when he was dance, he would step on others' leg and bump into others. So he would talk some nonsense, and he will always creating disturbance. He will talk something to one person and go on to speak something about this person to another person. So there was some kind of chaos, confusion, and heart burning among the devotees. This fellow is creating a lot of disturbance in the community of devotees. So devotee went to Prabhupada and explained that can we send him off, because simply is torturing, disturbing the entire atmosphere. And it's a madman, crazy man. Somehow he has taken initiation but is acting crazily. Prabhupada said, we should not reject anybody, but reform him. Reform him. Then he gave him formula. Don't send him with Kirtan party. Don't send him with any people outside. Put him in one room. Ask him to chant. Give him nice prasadam. So the person, temple president, took him and put him in one room and asked him to chant. Gave the Jabamala, asked him to chant. And he gave some work also, agarbati packing. So he would ask him to pack and chant continuously. And he would chant, and whenever he would not chant, what happened? Why you are not chanting? Are you feeling angry? He would say yes. Then he would bring Rajbhog plate, varieties of item, puri, chapati, paneer sabji, everything. Gave him plate, and he would eat. Then would ask him chant. So it took a couple of days for him just to chanting, taking prasadam. Then few days he became all right. He was insane, but by following the Prabhupada formula, he became sane person. So Prabhupada, when he heard this person become all right, then he said, we should not reject anybody, but reform. So Prabhupada was very compassionate Acharya, because he knew very well that we are all conditioned soul, we tend to commit a mistake. Nevertheless, he wanted to engage everyone in the service of the Lord. He did not reject anybody, whether male or female or young or old or girl or elderly woman. He did not reject black or blue. He never rejected anybody. He accepted everyone. He engaged everyone in the service of the Lord. This is the quality of Uttamadhikari. Esha Bhagavad Uttama. He sees everyone as part and parcel of Krishna, and he engages everyone in the service of the Lord. So Sutta Goswami, although he was born in mixed caste, he was not Brahminical family, he was not born in a Brahminical family, he was born mixed caste. Nevertheless, he becomes so qualified. How? Because he heard Bhagavatam from Shukadeva Goswami. Vyasadeva instructed Bhagavatam to Shukadeva Goswami. Shukadeva Goswami in turn he spoke this Bhagavatam to Sutta Goswami. Therefore, Sutta Goswami offered wonderful prayer. Aho vayam janma bruto adya asma vruddhan vruddhapi viloma jata daushkulyam adyam vidnodi shikram mahatramana abhidana yoga. Sutta Goswami said, oh God, although we are born mixed caste, nevertheless we are promoted in birthright. How? Simply by serving and following the great personalities, great devotees who are advanced in transcendental knowledge. Even by conversing with such a great soul, one can without delay cleanse oneself of all disqualification resulting from lower birth. So Sutta Goswami says here, although he was born in mixed caste, nevertheless, simply by association with great personalities like Shukadeva Goswami, so all these things washed off. All the things resulting from this lower birth is washed off completely. So serving great devotees is very, very important. Sutta Goswami means, what is Sutta? So it's the most important point we should learn. What is Sutta? Why is called Sutta Goswami? Why is his father is called Romarshna Sutta? Sutta means a person born to Kshatriya father and Brahmana mother. He was born in Pratiloma family. There are two kinds of combination, male and female. Anuloma means higher caste man marries lower caste man, like a Brahmana man. A Brahmana man can marry a Kshatriya woman. That is allowed. That is called Anuloma. In the Shastra, higher caste man can marry lower caste woman. That is allowed. Pratiloma means lower caste man marries higher caste woman. That is not allowed. That is not sanctioned. So, a Kshatriya man marries a Brahmana woman, and their combined product, the offspring, the son is called Suta. Son is called Suta, is addressed as a Suta. Therefore, his father name was Romarshna Suta. Means he was not born of a Brahmana father. And the same thing he also received. Sutta Goswami, Ugrashava Sutta. Another Sutta, there is a definition. One more Sutta, there are two names, two meanings are there. This second Sutta means one who has memorized the scriptures, one who recites the scriptures, is also called Sutta. Anyone who recites the scripture or by hearts the Shastras, present the Itihasas, they are also called Sutta. But Romarshna Sutta is not because of presenting the lecture, because he was born in a mixed caste family. So this is the meaning of Sutta. Sutta Goswami, since he did not take birth in the family of a Brahmana, nevertheless he was promoted in birthright. How? Because of qualification, because of associating with a person like a Shukadeva Goswami and other great sages of Naimisharanya, is freed from this contamination of taking birth in the lower family. And similarly, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also says that anyone practices Krishna consciousness, he can be a spiritual master, whether he's born in a Brahmanical family or a Vaishya or Sudras. It's okay, any birth it's okay. But he should be expert in the science of Krishna consciousness. He should be expert in the science of Krishna consciousness. If one wants to become spiritual master, he should be expert in the science of Krishna consciousness. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, following the principle, he elevated even the lower class man to the higher class person. How? By his association. Simply by associating, giving his association, he elevated lower class people to the standard of Brahmanical level. Many disciples or followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, most of them were not Brahmanas by birth, but all of them acquired the qualification because of Chaitanya Prabhu's association. So, uh, 5,000 years ago, although Sutta Goswami was not a Brahmana, nevertheless Shukadeva Goswami did not refuse to imparting the knowledge because of his lower caste person. Therefore, I will not instruct him. He did not think. Nor the sages of Naimisharanya. We are all Brahmanas, great sages. Why should we elect him? He is not a Brahmana. Why should we elect him to the topmost post? No, they were very eager to hear from Sutta Goswami. They were eager to hear from Sutta Goswami. So, even 5,000 years before, there was no bar. Whether one is a Brahmana or one is Kshatriya or one is a Vaishya. If he is expert in Krishna consciousness, he can occupy the position of spiritual master. The so-called the Brahminical corruption happened a few hundred years ago. Only a person who is born in the family of Brahmana, only he can speak. Only he can give lecture. Only he can worship. No, this is not the actual case. You see, Sutta Goswami is not a Brahmana. Nevertheless, he become the spiritual master of the great personalities. 88,000 sages were higher than him, senior to him, Brahmanas. But Sutta Goswami was elected as a foremost speaker, elevated to the spiritual master position. It's because of he received the knowledge from Srila Shukadeva Goswami. And it is said that the Ganges water is pure. We'll become purified by taking bath in the Ganges water. But as far as the great devotees are concerned, they can purify anyone. If even Shudra sees a pure devotee, just by seeing, he can become free from all the contamination resulting from the lower birth. Then what to speak of associating with him? What to speak of serving him? Just by seeing a pure devotee, one can wash off all the contamination resulting from lower birth. So here we see Sutta Goswami associated with a person like a Vyasadeva, Shukadeva Goswami, then naturally what would be this position? So the most important point to this is. The next point Prabhupada says here, hearing is called Shravana and explaining is called Kirtana. The two processes of Shravana and Kirtana are the primary importance to progressive spiritual life. Only one who has properly grasped the transcendental knowledge from the right source by submissive hearing can properly explain the subject. So hearing and explaining is more important than reading, because reading means gathering knowledge. Reading means we gather knowledge. But when we have to explain, we should understand the philosophy. Reading will just we gather knowledge. Because of reading, we will not be able to explain. Therefore, one should hear submissively. Submissively hear. When we submissively hear, then the knowledge will go inside. Not the challenging mode. Okay, I know. If you sit in the class in the mode, I know the things, nothing will go inside. Then where is the question of speaking? So when we hear properly from the right source, when we explain, we'll be more qualified. So when we preach, hearing, we get the qualification. But when we preach, we are still more qualified. So hearing and speaking is very important. It's not that we should be thorough, we should attain perfection, nothing. Whatever we heard, whatever we are practicing, we should preach. It's not that we should have achieved perfection, then only I can preach. Then nobody can preach in the world. Except Prabhupada, nobody can preach. If everyone thought like that, none of us would have become devotees. Not like the preaching means whatever we have learned, whatever you are practicing. You are chanting Hare Krishna mantra, even inattentively, it doesn't matter. We can ask people to chant. We are here in Bhagavatam, ask people to hear Bhagavatam. We follow Ekadashi, we ask people to follow Ekadashi. Whatever we practice, basic thing, we eat only prasadam, we can ask people to eat prasadam. So whatever you practice, this all we are practicing because we heard. Therefore, we can tell others. This will give benefit to us, to them also. So in both the way, we are gaining benefit. We are giving benefit to others by preaching, and we are purifying ourselves. So preaching is not only giving knowledge to other. Preaching meant to purify one's consciousness. So that's most important. So we should, Krishna says, Evam Prambra Praptam Yamam Brajashri Vrdu. So we should hear properly from the disciplic succession, and the same knowledge we should impart without adding any masala. Exactly, we should hear and deliver. Adding masala, we create a disturbance in the society. Then Prabhupada says, the Goswamis restrain all the senses and they stick to the path made by the previous acharyas. So one should, the Goswamis generally, the acharyas, should control the senses. There are 6 urges are there. One has to conquer the 6 urges. So Rupa Goswami explains in the Nectar of Instruction. Vacho vegam, manasa krodha vegam, jiva vegam, udora pasta vegam. Etan vegan yo vishayatadiran sarvam apimam prithvyamsa shishyat. So there are 6 urges are there. What are the urges? Vacho vegam, vacha, urge to speak. Manasa krodha vegam, demands of mind and mind's demand. Then krodha, anger, action of anger. Udaro pasta vegam, jiva vegam. So what is tongue? Urges of tongue, belly, and genitals. So if anyone conquers all the 6 urges, he can become a qualified spiritual master and is qualified to make disciples all over the world. So what is the difference between urges of tongue and urges of the belly? It appears to be the same. Tongue and belly. So this tongue, belly, genital is all in the same line. Tongue, urges of tongue means we want to eat tasty food. Something which is old, we don't like. We want varieties. We want something like a paneer pakoda, palak paneer, paneer masala, or some varieties like gulab jamun. We are fed up of some normal food. Eating a tasty food which tongue wants. I want to eat something tasty food. I'm fed up of this. This is called urges of a tongue. And the urges of belly. Belly does not care for whether it's tasty or not tasty. Eat more, overeating. Just like some people eat the plate, they'll make like a Gauranga hill and eat left and right. Maybe only rice and dal will be there. Sabji, that's all. Nothing else will be there. Rice, dal, sabji. Same food. But they'll eat left and right to fill their belly. Overeating. So, whether food is tasty or not tasty, people tend to eat more. This is called urges of belly. So, when the food is tasty further, and we want to eat more. We want to eat more. So, the number 1 is tongue taste. As a result, we tend to eat more. When the belly is full, stomach is full, the body becomes very passionate. Passion becomes dominant in the body. When the passion becomes dominant in the body, then sex urge becomes strong. Therefore, one has to control the tongue. If the tongue is controlled, then belly is controlled, genital is controlled. If the tongue is not controlled, then all things will become uncontrolled. So the most important point, what Rupa Goswami says, one has to control the tongue by eating only Krishna Prasadam and chanting Hare Krishna mantra, and follow Ekadashi, follow appearance days of Acharyas, disappearance days of Acharyas, then Janmashtami and Ramanavami, appearance day of all the personalities. So when we follow all these things, then we'll be able to conquer the urges of tongue and belly and genitals. And next point, the last point, Prabhupada says, those who listen to Bhagavatam may put questions to the speaker in order to elicit their clear meaning, but they should not be done in a challenging spirit. One must submit questions with a great regard for the speaker and the subject matter. This is also the way recommended in the Bhagavad Gita. One must learn the transcendental subject by submissive oral reception from the right sources. Therefore, these sages addressed the speaker Sutta Goswami with great respect. So in the Bhagavad Gita it is said, Tadvidhi Panipatena Pariprashana Sevaya Padakshanti Te Jnanam Jnanina Tattvadarshana. So one has to approach a bona fide spiritual master and serve him with humility. So, to receive knowledge, one has to serve and hear submissively. Submissiveness is very, very important. Without submissiveness, we cannot progress in spiritual life. However, one may be great. Even we see Krishna and Krishna's life personally demonstrated when he was studying under Antipani Muni. Krishna and Sudama went to forest and they were lost and they could not come back because he went to bring some firewood to the Sandipani Muni's wife for cooking. So they lost, the two children lost in the forest. They did not know how to come back. It was too dark, and the whole night they were staying in the forest, shivering in the cold. Next day, when Sandipani Muni and other disciples went in search of these two people, and Sandipani Muni was surprised and shocked to see the two children sitting extremely cold, shivering. When he saw these two boys, he was very much pleased and said, "My dear boys, you have taken so much trouble for serving your spiritual master. Generally, everyone wants to take care of his body first. They want to see the body is comfortable, not to take trouble. But you boys are so faithful to your spiritual master, you sacrificed all your bodily comfort to satisfy your spiritual master. This is the way to free one's debt to one's spiritual master. It's a duty of a disciple to dedicate his life to satisfy his spiritual master. I am so pleased by your act that you have taken so much trouble for me. Therefore, I bless you. Whatever you learn from me will remain in your memory. And whatever you have got desire, all the desire will be fulfilled." So Krishna said to Sudama, when Sudama went to meet Krishna, at the time Krishna recalls all things and "My dear Sudama, you remember, today we are happy because of the blessings of our spiritual master. So by the blessings of spiritual master, one can achieve peace, prosperity, and will be able to fulfill the mission of human life. So we have to please the spiritual master by our sincere service. In this way, one can become eligible to go back to Godhead. Next, Krishna here, how one should serve, what is the result of serving the spiritual master? We can see in the life of Narada Muni. It said in the Bhagavatam, Sushusho Shraddhadanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi Syanmat Sevaya Vipra Punyatirtha Nishavanat. They said, by serving the great souls, great devotees who are completely free from all vices, these four vices, what we have discussed. By serving the great devotees who are completely free from all vices, great service is done. Great service is done. By such service, one gain affinity for hearing about Vasudeva. So, by serving the great devotees, one develop taste to hear about Vasudeva Kataruchihi. So, when we serve devotees, naturally we acquire the qualities of devotees. When we acquire the quality of devotees, then it develops urge to hear, eager to hear. So, eager to hear about Krishna is the foremost qualification for those who want to go back to Godhead. Eagerness to hear about Krishna is the first and foremost qualification for those who desire to enter into the kingdom of Godhead. Then what happens after hearing? What happens? One develops taste to hear. Shinvatam Sukada Krishna Punyashavana Kirtana Hridayantosi Abhadrani Vidumoti Sursatam. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, being seated in everyone's heart as a Paramatma, is a real benefactor of the devotee. He cleanses the desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the person who develops the urge to hear Krishna, who develop the urge to hear about the Lord. Narada Muni developed the taste to hear about Krishna because of his sincere service to great Mahatmas, Bhakti Vedantas. So Narada Muni was explaining to Vyasadeva once in the previous millennium, Narada Muni was explaining to Vyasadeva, he said, "My dear Vyasa, I was born to a certain maid servant in the previous millennium. And during the 4-month rainy season, there were Bhakti Vedantas, the great devotees. They generally, during the rainy season, they would not go to any other place, they would stay in one place. At that time, Narada Muni, his mother was serving them, and Narada Muni also started serving them. So he was very eager to serve the great Mahatmas, Bhakti Vedantas, and he would wash the pot, wash the cloth, and clean the place. And he was very gentle. He was not naughty. He would not go for playing, but he would always attentive towards the service to the great devotees. And the sages were very, very pleased with this small boy. One day the boys asked, "Can I take your Mahaprasadam?" Because they had a Mahaprasadam after they left, and he wanted to eat that small remnants of the great Mahatmas. With their permission, he took the Mahaprasadam. Just by taking the Mahaprasadam, remnants of the great personalities, he became freed from all sinful reaction and became purified. And he started hearing the Krishna Katha from the Bhakti Vedantas. When he started hearing the Krishna Katha, he developed strong urge. And he was so excited. He developed a taste for hearing Krishna Katha just by serving the Mahatmas. Then later, the Bhakti Vedantas, after 4 months, when they left the place, being kind upon Narada Muni, who was very sincere, very obedient, simple-hearted person who was ready to serve the great Mahatmas by sacrificing all his bodily comfort, they imparted the transcendental knowledge unto Narada Muni in the previous life, that boy, small boy. So, because of getting the knowledge, receiving the knowledge, Narada Muni went back home, back to Godhead. So, this is most important thing, how to receive the transcendental knowledge. One has to respect, honor, serve the Mahatmas. By serving the Mahatmas, great devotees will develop urge to hear Krishna Katha. So the today verse, the takeaway points is most important. We should perform our morning sadhana seriously and properly. After that, particularly Mangalarti, serious sadhana means Mangalarti, then do japa. We should perform japa. Then we should offer respect to speaker, irrespective of whether is a great or not great. Of course, nobody is sitting on the Vyasasana in our ISKCON, in our group of temple, because none of us is a representative of Vyasadeva. So, who can sit on the Vyasasana? One who is spotless in character, one who is free from all 4 vices, one who is well versed in the Shastras, and one should not deviate even an inch from the instruction of Vyasadeva. Only those people can sit on the Vyasasana. So, we sit on the asana, not Vyasasana. So, irrespective of speaker, one should offer due respect. The moment we think, I know this boy, he just joined 5-6 years before. I am there in the moment for 20 years, 30 years. So what I can learn from him, I know better than him. The moment when we sit in the class, then finished. Nothing will go to our head. So whenever we discuss, we just repeat what Srila Prabhupada says. So whoever it may be, just we repeat, that's all. And we are not qualified to speak big subject, just repeat, parrot, that's all. So whatever you hear, if you offer due respect to the speaker, and we will get some knowledge. The moment we think I know better than the speaker, finished, nothing will go inside. Even we may sit 1 hour, 2 or 3 hour, it's better to leave the place because wasting time. So the Bhagavatam teaches all these things, what we should do in the morning, then how to respect a devotee, then here. So this set a proper mood by attending a Mangalarti, by chanting and offering respect to speaker. It gives proper mood for the speaker to speak and the hearer to hear. Then one can make advancement. The speaker also has to attend Mangalarti. He also has to chant. He also has to do same thing. It's not that speaker is a liberated soul, therefore it's not required for him to attend Mangalarti or to chant japa, nothing. If he is not chanting and he cannot is not attending Mangalarti, then he cannot speak. That will not strike the heart of the person. So we should practice whatever we are being told by Prabhupada. So Prabhupada, everything is set up in this ISKCON exactly as per the Bhagavatam. It's not that whimsically he has set up some standards. Why he has to set up the Mangalarti morning time, Brahma Murta time, Mangalarti, then Japa, then class. So when class speaker comes, we offer respect to the speaker. Then we sit and ready to hear. So this sets proper mood for the hearer to hear the transcendental knowledge. When we hear in this mode, with this mode, then we can grasp the transcendental knowledge and will make advancement. So that is the purport of this question. Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Hare Krishna. Thank you.